But so let me read what Lynette wrote, because I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it. But look at what percentage of the Bible speaks of Israel, because God placed that focus on Israel within his word. So God placed the focus on Israel within his word. Satan doesn't want Israel to call upon the one whom they pierced, because that means his time is up. And then people are agreeing with her. Thank you. Just Vicky said we don't come across as hateful, so that's good.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I think it's important to have a conversation about this stuff from both sides, not in a hateful way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, but it is. I don't want to, like ignore it either. Because I think a lot of
we can't.
Yeah,
I
think most Christians online do ignore it. Or well, I think now it's becoming more divisive, of course, like we talked about earlier. But I think that they'd rather ignore it. How about that? Like, there's people who just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it
Dennis,
online.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. You don't have Twitter, huh?
I don't follow. I mean, I just don't follow
Lynette
Twitter.
does.
I'm not on. Yeah.
Lynette, question.
Yeah.
Is your entire Twitter feed people arguing about Israel? Mine is. And I'm not searching this out. It actually, like, I'm so over it. I'm so sick of this. But literally my entire feed is just people arguing about Israel. Dennis, I'm talking about, like, everybody's just dug in. Okay? The dispensational people are saying you're not Christian if you don't support Israel.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all dispensational. This is just what I'm seeing on here. Maybe those loudest voices, the most antagonistic, get all the shares or likes or comments because everybody's arguing with them.
Yeah,
and then
Lynette said yes, by the way. Her feed is.
Her feed too, right?
Yeah, yes, with
Dude, what the heck is that?
With many exclamation points.
What the heck is that? Like, how do you stop that? I don't know how to get that out of my freaking feed,
again, it's what we said about earlier. It's the way they're using the algorithms to divide and to press what they want certain people to.
But what's wild, Dennis, is according to Elon, Twitter is supposed to be, or X is supposed to be, the least of that. It's supposed to have the least string pulling. So is this really the
so
conversation that's being had?
Really the conversation? Okay.
Is this really a good representation of what's going on in the world's, I don't know, chat?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which would be, dude, that would be insane if that's true. I'm actually hoping there's more strings being pulled. But also to Lynette's point, okay? I totally agree. There's so much about Israel in the Bible because from beginning to end, it's God's revelation to and through Israel. But it doesn't stop there. Like, there's a lot of passages talking about the nations. The nations is everybody but Israel. Okay? And God's plan with the nations and his redemption of the nations, and I'm sending you to the nations. And okay? There's a lot of that. And even in the New Testament, let's think. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Let's take those away. Acts, let's take that away. Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians, Titus, Philemon, maybe Hebrews. No, take Hebrews. James. Take James away. You probably got 90, 85% of the New Testament that's talking to some Jewish people, but it's actually not just Israel.
Right.
That's a big difference. The New Testament is also to us, like to the Gentiles of the day. At that point in time, they were written to the Gentiles, as well as to Jewish people in the church. There was no special letter to, like, the Jew in the church of Galatia and to the Gentile in the church of, because there's different covenants and you're chosen.
I never saw that, Ben. Good job.
I just thought about it.
Oh, all right. Very nice. I think that makes a lot of sense, because you got to take the Bible as a whole, and the New Testament. If that is the case in the New Testament, obviously it's not the case in the Old Testament.
Because there was no new covenant.
Yeah, and that's where Jesus was supposed to be brought through, right? Is that people? So, and then once Jesus showed up, things changed, baby.
Dude, everything changed. Everything changed. It says that he was given the nations again, or he's taking the nations. you know?
Is that the
Now,
problem? Are people having a hard time with the change? Like to say that?
I
You
don't
think
think
that's what?
so. I don't think they're having a hard time with the
Mm.
change. I think they want, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay, in the chat. I think it's a desire to have God keep his promises from
Mm,
the Old
mm,
Testament.
yeah.
So that must mean that they follow through in all the way to the end of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Mhm.
God promised these things in the Old Testament. It's clear,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, he did. Mhm.
And he totally did. However, a huge part for me that made me kind of like change perspectives on this um, is that the New Testament interprets the Old Testament. The
Right.
Old Testament does not stand alone. It
Right.
used to.
Yeah.
It used to when all they had was the Old Testament. Look at the Pharisees. What did they use to come to their conclusions, which Jesus chastised them for? And to the extent that he called them
Yeah.
sons of Satan.
The Old
What did they
Testament.
use?
The Old Testament.
The Old
Mhm.
Testament. They built their entire system, everything, their laws, everything was based on strictly the Old Testament. And I'm talking about a strict adherence to the Old Testament to the utmost degree, right? And Jesus called those guys sons of Satan. Like,
So
that's kind of wild.
to all the Jews at that time, Jesus's arrival, like I mean, it went against all the Jews as far as what they believed up until that time,
It went
except for
against,
like John.
yeah. No, you're totally dead on, man. It went against the entire Second Testamental era Judaism.
Mm.
Okay? It totally went against that. Because who were the leaders and the teachers in that Second Testamental era? The Pharisees. And Jesus was adamantly opposed to them and their perspectives, okay? And their conclusions. Not everything, but a lot of it. So
Yeah.
the people living in that time did not know Judaism apart from Second Testamental, like Pharisaical Judaism.
Hmm.
The people believed the same thing the Pharisees believed, because when they would sit in the
Right.
temple and listen to the Pharisees teaching, they weren't teaching anything other than like Pharisaical Second Testamental Judaism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what Jesus was opposed to. But Jesus did not call out individual or chastise individual like layman Jews. Just regular old folks that sit in the pews and listen and are like, oh, okay. Because they were the ones being led astray.
Right.
He was adamantly opposed to the teachers
Mhm.
of the law, the Pharisees.
Yeah.
That's who he was opposed to. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else, he invited to like repent and listen and change your mind. And he would teach from the Old Testament and ask them to change their mind, basically. Actually, not really ask them to change their mind. He spoke mostly in parables and then said it's so who's meant to understand will.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know?
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly right.
but all that to say, he didn't chastise the layman. He only criticized the religious leaders, man.
Mhm.
You know, which is kind of crazy. I don't even know. Did he even like? Did he ever even criticize Rome?
No, I don't think he did.
Nothing comes to mind.
No, if anything, he was gracious towards the Roman soldiers. Centurion, right?
Dang, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
It's almost as if he had like mercy or pity on people who are just common or not even common Jews, people who are Gentiles, who don't know any better.
Yeah.
The people that he reserved his frustration for were the people that should know better because they had the book. They had the book. That's all they spent their freaking lives doing, is studying the book. And this is where you get to. These are the conclusions you come to from this text that I freaking gave to you, and you killed all the prophets.
Yeah, dude.
And now I'm here. This book was supposed to be about me, and I'm here. And I'm doing the things the book is saying, and you're going to kill me too. Dude, imagine how pissed you would be knowing that those same assholes are going to kill you too. Yeah. For the same reasons. You know what I mean? So it's not a surprise to me that they've been under judgment for the past 2,000 years. It's not a surprise to me. It's wild, man.
People are saying, yes, Jesus will rule from Jerusalem.
I agree.
I think
But here's the thing. Hey, it doesn't matter what title is on a map.
Yeah, that doesn't make me think about, oh, well, then it has to be the
whether Israel is there or not, Jesus will rule from Jerusalem.
Right.
And the New Testament interprets the Old Testament. So when it says that Jesus is going to dwell within the New Jerusalem, every single Old Testament passage that talks about Jesus in Jerusalem can be interpreted through the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Abraham took Sarah and Hagar as wives. And then, who is it? Paul or Peter? I forget who. Allegorizes Hagar to be the Ishmaelites, I think, and Sarah to be the faithful within Israel. Everything that happened in the Old Testament was to point to something else.
Right.
Like the way God orchestrated history for the Jews was so that it would point to something else, like a greater fulfillment. Who the heck would have thought there'd be a greater fulfillment of Sarah and Hagar? Those are just two chicks that Abraham hooked up with.
Yeah.
But Paul, I think it's Paul, I don't know who, but Paul's like, no, they were symbolic. Yeah. They were symbolic of these two different peoples. You know what I mean? Which is like, what the heck? Is that how we're supposed to read the Bible?
Right.
Because it seems like that's how they read it. It seems like they freaking came up with some really like artistic perspectives on some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or even stuff like, hey, it said that there will be, or what is the verse where it's like, and the promise was made to the seed of Abraham, which is singular, which is Christ.
Yes.
Okay, so hold on. All these years, these millennia or these centuries, where people thought we are the seed of Abraham. Paul's like, no, dude. It was, the whole time it was about Christ.
Right. Right. The whole time.
And you killed him.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
Like it's kind of a trip when you look at all the times the New Testament takes something from the Old Testament, which was set in stone.
Right.
This is what it is. We are the children of Abraham. We are the seed of Abraham. No denying it. Because we came from Abraham, right? And then the New Testament's like, meh. It's this other thing. It's this like it's this spiritual. It's this spiritual thing, man.
That's why they killed him.
I'm kind of scared to like do a study of all the New Testament interpretations of the Old Testament, because I have a feeling it's going to be like, it's going to mess with my mind.
Why?
I don't know. I just have a feeling it's going to be weird. Because like, is that how we're supposed to? Well, no, we're not supposed to go into the Old Testament and like allegorize and interpret everything spiritually. Only what was done so in the New Testament. But then do we go back and read the Old Testament through the redefined terms and concepts found in the New Testament?
I think that's yeah. I think
that's
yes.
a trip.
I think
that's
the
a
answer
trip.
is yes.
That's a trip. So that when it says he will return to Jerusalem, his feet will split the Mount of Olive, all these prophecies, all this prophetic stuff, right? Do we read the New Testament revelation and interpretation and allegorization of those things? Is that what the prophets were actually talking about? But people actually just took it literally. And it just wasn't meant for them to know the greater fulfillment of those things until the New Testament came about? Like, is that kind of what was happening?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think it was meant for them to know, because that's why God sent the prophets. You know, it's like, hey, wake up. Like, don't you see this? Don't you see this? But you said something earlier that really kind of struck a chord, because I think that's why I'm becoming so intrigued by the Old Testament and the Bible as a whole. But the Old Testament because in the morning I read the Old Testament, in the evening I read the New Testament. And so in the same day, sometimes I get this crossover, which is so cool. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen often.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. And so when you said, do we read it based on, what the fulfillment in the New Testament, do we read the Old Testament like that? Yes, I think I'm already doing that. And when you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why it's becoming so much more clear to me.
It's more clear.
Yeah. The picture of the Old Testament and why I'm starting to understand God better too, because of Jesus. And because of his life here, I'm understanding what God was doing and why he thought these things. Because a lot of those things are wild, right? Where you're just like, what is happening here, God? And I still don't have the answers for all of them, but I'm starting to see more and more that connection. And
do you think that that's where a lot of this division and confusion and strife comes from? Where we are reading the New Testament into the Old Testament, and the other side is reading the Old Testament into the New Testament. You see what I'm saying?
I think that that's very possible.
Because the only arguments we have as like non-dispensational, okay, all are from the New Testament. And we reinterpret Old Testament terms and concepts through the redefinitions found in the New Testament. That's the whole argument. Whereas on the other side, it's, hey, here's what the Old Testament says. So this is got to be what the New Testament is saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a fair, like, I'm just thinking out loud.
It makes sense to me.
Fair criticism.
But
I can see that.
Yeah.
And I don't hold it against them. I'm just saying
they're probably not even doing it intentionally, like thinking it through, like how you just called it out. I think because I didn't think of that really until we started talking about it tonight. So I don't think it's even intentional. I think it's maybe just the way they're taught or the way they're used to reading the Bible. I don't know. Maybe
I think so. I think it might be a way that
to read a book, right? How you read a book, kind of.
Yeah, that's a trip, man. Like, what other book is there where you have to get to the last 30%?
Yeah, to really understand.
And that's the only way.
Right.
Think about how dumb this is. Hey, there's a narrative in the first 70% of the book.
Right.
There's a narrative. It all makes sense. Everything happening has its purposes and its points, and it leads to something. And even the characters inside understand it a certain way.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's a 30% of the book that redefines and reinterprets all of those things within the first 70% of the book. And it doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make the original understanding wrong. It just elevates it to like its grander fulfillment. I feel like that's kind of what's happening. Because before the New Testament,
so dope, dude.
The prophets and all the Israelites, they weren't wrong to believe what God revealed thus far about chosen people, Jerusalem, resurrection, eternity.
Yeah, because
they had a limited revelation.
Yeah.
And they took it literally. This is how they read it. This is what they believed. This is what they were taught.
And it was all true. It's all that.
And it was all true.
Yeah.
But then God in the New Testament, through Christ and the apostles, right? But specifically through Christ.
Yes.
Gives all of that greater fulfillment.
Right.
Greater fulfillment. Who cares about Jerusalem?
Right.
Who gives a crap about Jerusalem? There's not going to be the same world.
Right.
I think that's
why
what
Jesus
this is
said
about.
Not a stone will be left undone.
Dude, it says that the freaking world will be rolled up like a scroll.
Yeah.
And he's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Why do we care about freaking Jerusalem? But guess what is on the new earth? The new Jerusalem. So like, oh my God. Okay, maybe the whole world is Israel because it's now God's land.
Right.
Maybe the Jerusalem that Christ reigns from is the new Jerusalem.
Right.
I mean, both are true. Like both statements are true.
Right.